and the Lincoln Airport on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Advanced Medical Imaging is the largest radiology group in Nebraska, located in Lincoln at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard. At Advanced Medical Imaging, they utilize state-of-the-art technology and blend it together with their compassionate, skilled team to guide you through every step. Whether it's an MRI, CT scan, or X-ray, their precise diagnostics help your doctor deliver the best care plan for you. Choose clarity and comfort in your life by choosing Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard and online at amimaging.com.
Lincoln's go-to for fun isn't new. It's a place that's been a staple of the city for years and is only getting better. Matson's Bowling and Billiards always has open bowling available with no long lines, unlike other centers. They have live music almost every weekend and great food at EJ's Bar and Lounge, with seating for 150 people. They have popular meals like the EJ Burger, pizza for the whole family, and famous EJ's Wings. Contact Sarah to book a party for friends, coworkers, or family at Matson's Bowling and Billiards, just south of 48th and Holdridge.
Have you heard about Advanced Medical Imaging Surgery Center? Located at 7555 Pioneers Boulevard, Advanced Medical Imaging Surgery Center offers compassionate, patient-focused care and provides outpatient surgery services, making it possible to have non-emergency surgery and return home the same day. Advanced Medical Imaging Surgery Center specializes in cardiology, vascular radiology, orthopedics, pain management, and much, much more. Give them a call today at 402-261-1085 or online at amimaging.com.
All right, welcome back in to 93.7 The Ticket. This is the Husker Hoops men's postgame show as we celebrate another Husker victory. They stay perfect, undefeated. They sweep the non-conference schedule for the first time. Got to go all the way back in time since 1928. And again, the Huskers, number 13 Huskers at that, stay that perfect record. 13-0 as they take down New Hampshire with the final score of 86-55. Great game. We will have Austin Orman joining us as well. And you guys are welcome to call in. We got one ringing right now, and I'll go ahead and put that listener on hold if they are listening. Now, be aware, don't get anybody to screen this stuff until Austin Orman gets back. So be patient. If I got you on the line, just hang on there for a little bit. If you guys want to text in, 402-464-5685, more than welcome to join the show. And as I said, we will have Austin Orman joining us. But before we get here, I'm curious. I wasn't at the game. I had it on TV up here at the Ticket Studio. Let's go ahead and bring in our first caller. You are in. Well, first caller, I'll have you turn down that radio. I'll give you about 10 seconds. You can turn down that radio. We'll bring you in real shortly here. But I want to get your guys' thoughts. Text in. That's Starter Heyman text line. And, of course, you can call in.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Very good. I've hated New Hampshire from the second I was born. My parents, they told me New Hampshire is the worst university that God made for us. We came out in that second half. We put it to them. Birthday, you, Price Sanford, I love you. Nebraska basketball, 13-0. We're so back. God is smiling upon us. This is a great basketball team, the best one. Me and my dad, we're smiling as we drive home tonight. Go Big Red.
Go big red. Couldn't say it any better myself. Enjoy that drive home, sir, as you may be onto something. This was one of the better basketball teams in my lifetime that I've seen. I'll just be flat out honest. Obviously, I'm only the age of 26 years old, but this is a team that's got something going. There's a connective tissue there, and it's clear to see. And again, they win 86-55. You guys are welcome to give your thoughts. Enjoy the ride home at that. Let's go ahead and get to the start of the text line. Cubsker, another rough yet somehow successful first half that led to a second half explosion. Definitely can't do that against Michigan State on the second. It'll take two halves like the second half of tonight to stay competitive. Great win and go Big Red. Yeah, there's some truth to that. That first half, there's been something odd within these games where the first half against not to disparage anybody, but against the lesser opponents, the North Dakotas, obviously, this New Hampshire game wasn't the best to look. Earlier in the year, it was the West Georgia Wolves. And a lot of those games, the Huskers have really struggled out of the gate. Now you get the Illinois game and everyone's just lighting up, first half to the second half. They stay consistent. But you credit these guys. Despite having some of these slower starts, you see them figure out ways to get back on track. And in that second half in particular, for everyone who watched the first half, a lot of threes, not a lot made. Second half, let's pull back on the three-point ball. We're playing New Hampshire. They don't have the size to match up with us inside. You see Berke Berjuktenjel really start to take advantage of his mismatches. They're doing a great job feeding him when it was there. Same thing for Rink Mast. We got to see some new faces as well, and we'll certainly get to those guys. Let's go through some of the basic stats as we wait for more people to hop in here. So the field goal percentage for the Huskers was fantastic, 46% compared to New Hampshire's 32%. And I say fantastic because when we get to the three-point ball, you'll realize they did a pretty decent damage inside, because the three-point shooting percentage, which really should have tanked their numbers, that's why I say it's incredible they got to 46%. They were an ice-cold 5 of 23 from the three-point line, only good enough for 22%. New Hampshire, who was red hot in that first half, cooled off in a major way in the second half. They would go 8 for 32. Well, again, really good numbers in the first, and then it completely fell off cliff in the second half. They would finish with a 25% three-point shooting percentage. And then, of course, the free throw numbers, Nebraska, you did pretty good there. I mean, you get to the free throw line 35 times in this one. And that's what I really like to see in that second half. Again, you guys weren't making threes outside of Price Sanford. We'll get some of these individuals in a minute here. But nobody's really hitting anything consistently outside of Sanford. And even he at times had a little bit of a slow start. But you get to the free throw line and you find ways to attack the paint and just get some easy shots to keep your offense in the game. And you don't get those free throw numbers, we're probably trailing at the end of the first half. And who knows what kind of confidence that gives New Hampshire. Maybe they knock everything down in the second half as well, because they feel like they really got a chance to take down the number 13 ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers at their home court. But was not the case for them, as they consistently just kept trying for that three ball. They only got 17 free throws on the night. And like I said, the Huskers get 35. We make 27 of them. That's good enough for a good 77% from the line. They were 65% from the line. Offensive rebounds, it's a number in this game that you would hope we come away and win this battle. 44-33. They win with a good healthy amount of offensive boards to go along with it. 16 offensive boards. The assist total, once again, the Huskers do a good job getting close to that 20. 17 total assists. They also had 8 steals on the night. So would New Hampshire, but 4 blocks. And then total turnovers, 10. So not quite the 2v1 assist to turnover ratio, but not too far away from it. It was one of the sloppier games in terms of turnovers, but I thought they did a good job sharing the ball nonetheless. Points off turnovers. This is where Nebraska really thrived. Despite the 10 turnovers they had, New Hampshire was only able to get 5 points off them. It's one thing to give the turnover up. It's another thing to fail getting back on defense once you give it up. At least Nebraska basketball in this game was able to make the mistake, but make a great effort on the other side to not allow them to just go ahead and get an easy 2 or easy 3. Again, they only get 5 points off of our 10 turnovers. They had 16 turnovers. Nebraska would score 19 points off of those. Fast break points, Nebraska had 8. Played pretty patient there. Was not pushing the court a ton, especially when the 3 ball wasn't going. They were going to take an early 3, even if it was open. Points in the paint, this is where they dominated. 42 points in the paint compared to the New Hampshire Wildcats. They only get 12. Can't stress enough how much the Wildcats were living by that 3, especially in that first half. And in the second half, I don't think they wanted to, but the game started getting away from them. And if they were going to have any sort of chance to fight back, I think they realized they're going to have to start knocking down some 3-point shots. And for a little bit there, in the second half, Nebraska was almost ready to kind of challenge them in that 3-point battle. And until Fred Hoiberg called a timeout, you see the guys get a little bit more organized, stop taking early jump shots into the shot clock, and just play the full shot possession. Wait for a better shot. Don't take an early 3, especially not 5 seconds into it. And then did a good job there, getting a little bit more patient. Largest lead for the Huskers on the night was 34 points. New Hampshire did have a lead there for a little bit by a margin of 5. Let's get to the leading scorer of the night, and that would be the one and only for the Cornhuskers, Price Sanford. He was 7 for 15 on the floor, 3 of 8 from the 3-point line. You'll take that. 2 of 5 from the free throws, which was a little bit odd for him, but he gives you 7 rebounds, 1 assist, and a couple steals to go along with it. And 0 turnovers. On top of everything else, the leading rebounder in this game, which might be interesting to some, was actually none other than Sam Hoiberg. Sam Hoiberg finishes the day with 10 rebounds. I don't know what Sam Hoiberg would look like if you gave that guy 8 more inches for his height. He'd be the leading rebounder every night with the type of energy he plays for. He was perfect from the line, 2 for 2. Field goal percentage, 50%. He was 3 for 6 for a cool 8 points. Just another really impressive performance by him. You can't stress enough what he does on the little things. There was a great play where Rinkmast, he's going for a post up. He catches the guy on the other side of the glass, and Sam Hoiberg, despite the size disadvantage, does a really good job sealing off that weak side help to just give Rinkmast that one-on-one matchup. And those are the small things that Sam Hoiberg does all the time that other coaches notice. That's why you'll get to press conferences, and Sam Hoiberg might have like 7 points, 5 points, but 0 turnovers, 5 assists, 6 assists, and 5 boards to go with it. And the coaches will get to the podium, and they see those little things that he does that aren't going to show up on the stat sheet. But again, clearing the lane for a guy like Rinkmast, understanding the spacing of the court, those are things he just does an incredibly good job at. And once again, it showed in this game right here. Let's see. We got this from Fred. 17 second half points for New Hampshire. Yeah, the second half for New Hampshire, this one from Froth, they just died on that 3 ball. I think they were hoping that it'd keep going the same way it did in that first half. Unfortunately for them, it cooled off, and Nebraska caught fire. And then it got to a point where it's like, okay, we're staring down a 10-point lead, or 10-point, what's the word? Blanking on the word there. We're down by 10 points. I'll just say that. So New Hampshire kept opting to try to shoot threes, it felt like, to try to get back into that game. And another miss, another drive inside by Nebraska. They get 2, or they get fouled, or a 3 by Sanford. They go back down. They're down by 13. They try to take another 3. Nebraska stays consistent. Now the lead's 15. Now New Hampshire's just launching away. I think they got a little bit panicked in terms of the score getting away from them, and instead of just trying to find some easy points inside, which, to be fair, with their disadvantage on height, maybe that was the best route for them, was to try to hope and get hot from 3. They just weren't able to do it. Despite a really good first half from them, they were like 6 of 11 at one point when I looked up during the first half, and then 2. And that was, I want to say, with like 8 minutes to go in that first half. And they would get 2 more threes after that to finish with an ice cold 8 for 32 from the 3-point line. So you credit Nebraska for the defense, though. We talk about this all the time. It is the shot that Nebraska basketball is willing to give you. It does not mean Nebraska basketball is going to step aside and roll out the red carpet. It simply means we feel better about forcing you guys to take those shots than we do giving you some matchups inside. And when I say they're not giving it to you, they're going to double on the baseline. They will not give you baseline no matter what you want to do. They really, really try to stop you there. So what's left? Well, if you're good enough, you can try to swing it to that opposite corner, or you got to kick it back out to the 3-point line. And on the wing, they got to start swinging around and try to get Nebraska rotating just a step slow so they can find an opening in that 3-point ball. Sometimes it works. They get an opening. The pressure's on them to make it. Sometimes the contest is still pretty good. But considering the shot clock and how much time they spent trying to swing the ball around, feels like the best shot for them. So they do a really good job, and Lenzer deserves a ton of credit in it, of rotating defensively. And it's kind of been the key of this basketball team. It has been the small things. We've talked about this with Austin Orman before. Nebraska is not an elite 3-point shooting team, yet they somehow get teams to play Nebraska in these 3-point battles, but they're much better at defending everything else than a lot of these teams are. And they're able to just slowly stretch out this lead over the course of a half or 2 halves if they're playing phenomenal, and just keep allowing teams to not take comfortable shots, not take shots that are really within their offense. I mean, they can swing it around as much as possible. They're not running a set. They're just looking for Nebraska to have a miscue on defense. And it happens sometimes. Like I said, it's on the pressure for them to make that 3. But more often than not, yes, it's a open 3, but it is not a uncontested 3. And that's kind of been the beauty of what this Nebraska basketball team has done to get to this 13-0 lead. Sweeping the non-conference schedule is a big deal. Like I said, you have to go all the way back in history I believe the graphic said like 1928 since the last time it happened. Yes, the Nebraska basketball program has been around that long, but just a really great start. And the goal typically is 20 wins. You get to 20 wins, you're usually knocking on that March Madness tournament. You're sitting here at 13 already. You got a ranked win versus Illinois, and you cleaned up all of your non-conference games. Even the games with bad starts, slow starts, whatever critiques we may have on them, you just go look at this New Hampshire game. You allow them 38 points in the first half. You score 41. Second half, you don't change a ton defensively. You just kind of double down and really bank on New Hampshire. Like, if you're that good at shooting threes, do it again. And they just couldn't. 8 for 32. Nebraska would score 45 points in the second half to their 17. And it was over. I mean, New Hampshire, that was kind of, I think, the team that a lot of people anticipated walking in to the vault. But sometimes teams get hot. It's exactly what New Hampshire did, but Nebraska did not panic. They did not start hacking, fouling. They did not start rushing shots in the shot clock to just try to keep up with their three-point shooting. They just kept playing their offense. Their patient offense. We're not going to take just the every open shot. We're going to take the best available shot, and we'll take as long to the shot clock as we need to till we find that one. We got a couple texts here off of YouTube. We got a couple more off the text line. If you guys want to chime in here, we'll throw it to break early because I really want to set the table for a longer segment, especially when Austin Orman gets here. We'll have a short break. You can fill in the text. You can fill in the stream text as well. I'll get to you guys on the other side of it as the Nebraska Cornhuskers stay perfect, 13-0. And they got a really big team coming up next in Michigan State, number 9 ranked Michigan State at that. But that one, it helps. It's in the vault as well. So an opportunity for Nebraska to double down on their home court dominance. Don't go anywhere. We'll throw it to break. We'll be right back after this. This is the Husker Hoops postgame show. Harrison Arns back here at the Ticket Studio. We will have Austin Orman, who was down there at the game, currently sitting in that press conference, be joining us after right here, 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize to participate in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contests, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Hi, Charlie Stone here, and it's that time of the year again. Time for the annual Happy Honda Days at Honda of Lincoln. With me on the line, Andy Goodyear, to tell us all about it.
The exciting news is we have more selection and more savings. We have over 400 new 2025 and 2026 Hondas to choose from, with a great opportunity to get year-end savings on every remaining new 2025.
Do you have some Happy Honda Days specials?
Sure do, Charlie. For example, you can lease a new 2025 Accord Sport Hybrid for just $349 a month, and we have financing from just 0% APR. We've also included over 125 pre-owned of all makes and models, and as always, our certified pre-owns are in this sale as well.
Well, maybe it's time you experience the best. The Honda of Lincoln way of doing business, 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Big value and big flavor meet at Wings and Rings, thanks to the all-new delicious Duo Combo. This is the one you've been waiting for. Get one half-sized appetizer and 2 entrees with a side for only $19.99. Bring a friend for the best deal in town on any day of the week, during game time, or whenever the heck you want. Their made-to-order wings and chicken sandwiches are waiting for you at their 68th and O and 40th and Old Cheney locations. Stop by Wings and Rings and celebrate every day with the best meal deal in town.
Ready, set, Ford. Just announced 0% for 66 months with approved credit on all 2025 Ford F-150s at Zollner, Fort Beatrice. Save thousands in finance charges. If your current pickup loan's 4, 5, 6% or more, trade in today and receive 0% for up to 66 months on a brand new 2025 Ford F-150 of your choice at Zollner, Fort Beatrice, Nebraska's volume dealer with the hometown service you expect.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Coppell Chevrolet GMC, the #1 fastest growing GMC dealer in the Omaha and Lincoln area. We are going to keep this train rolling in a big way with new half-ton and 4x4 pickup trucks starting at $12,500 off list price or 0% financing. You heard that right, $12,500 off list price or 0% financing. You pick which one works better for you. Please stop on in the dealership and meet the team or check us out at koppelcars.com. Stock number C280930. All deals with approved credit.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Nebraska State Veterans Homes are here to serve veterans, their spouses, surviving spouses, and Gold Star parents. Join your fellow veterans and their families at one of our homes in Bellevue, Kearney, Norfolk, or Scottsbluff. With a sliding scale to determine your financial contribution, an excellent clinical team, and plenty of fun activities, our homes are the perfect retirement choice. Learn more at veterans.nebraska.gov/homes. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
All right, welcome back in the Husker men's basketball postgame show. Harrison Arns at the Ticket Studio. We will have our guy, Austin Orman, joining us later in the show. He's down there right now. I was looking at it. Fred Hoiberg currently in the middle of the press conference, so he should be just right around the corner. Let's go ahead and get to the people, though, as we should all celebrate what is a perfect start. First time in nearly 100 years since the Huskers have been able to sweep a non-con slate. It ended tonight with their win versus New Hampshire. Let's get to Bing. He says, as a Husker basketball fan, does this game make you feel more or less confident about Friday's game against Michigan State? Obviously, Michigan State, great team. Their only loss coming to a number 4 ranked Duke Blue Devils team. But they've had some great wins along as well, and a few ranked wins. Yeah, wins only make me more confident. You know, it doesn't mean you can walk in there and expect to win, especially since, you know, Tom Izzo's team this year has looked really impressive. But of course, a win gives me confidence. It doesn't make anything guaranteed, but you'd be a fool to say more wins doesn't give you more confidence. We got John off of YouTube as well. Says, great win against New Hampshire. We are a great team. I'm not going to disagree with you there. He said, beating Illinois makes me more confident for this next game versus Michigan State. That one coming from Jason off of YouTube as well. Let's get to the starter Heyman text line. Gus Mohawk, the Cornhuskers are going to need Stanford and Mass to step up on Friday. Certainly a discussion in that one. And then we got Froff saying he wants to call in there. Froff, if you want to hop in on the phone lines, feel free to call in. And 402-464-5685. That is that same number right there, 93.7 The Ticket. Looking at Michigan State, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, but I know that's where a lot of the conversation is going to go. They did have a win versus number 14 Arkansas, and they won that one just by 3 points, 69-66. And then they had a ranked win versus number 16 North Carolina, 74-58. And then their only ranked loss on the year being to the number 4 Duke Blue Devils, as I mentioned, 66-60. And apologies, I missed one. They also beat number 12 Kentucky, 83-66. That was a big blowout. I don't know if Kentucky is still 12. I'd imagine they dropped back quite a bit. Nope, they're still sitting there at 12. All right. So there's this bigger games for Michigan State. That's obviously going to be a big part of the conversation. We will talk about it a lot come Friday. So be definitely sure to tune in then. But for now, I think we can just pick apart this game, enjoy it before we look too far forward. Because win or lose Michigan State, I hope that doesn't change a lot of people's outlook on what this team's doing and what this team's currently capable of. You don't like to ever get too far ahead. But again, I just keep going back to the same things. This is a team that looks totally bought in, not just with their teammates, but with the coaching staff as well. And when you look at, and this is no disrespect to our NIL program and the challenges that they may have, but I can just flat out tell you, Nebraska's NIL going to basketball does not match that of Michigan State or Michigan or UCLA or a lot of these other really great Big Ten teams. So for those guys to pull off what they do with, I'm assuming, a much smaller payroll has been awesome. And I think it's a little bit of the chip on the shoulder for the guys that don't get the big opportunities, that don't get the paychecks. They find a place in Nebraska and a coach in Nebraska that 100% believes in them. Let's get back to the phone line. I believe this is my texter. You're listening to the Husker men's basketball postgame shows. The Huskers get a win over New Hampshire. What do you got for us?
I'm just so excited about this team. Like, you have so many likable characters. Like, we have a team that's not just like a conglomerate, but we have Price, we have Rank, we have so many guys that just play for each other. Like, I'm very excited for seeing like where we could go. I look at the projections of the seeds, and I look at Rank Mass. I look at Price Sanford. Like, we have so many likable guys. I'm just so excited. I mean, I love the Tim Miles teams. I love how we have progressed, but I am so excited by this bunch where we show up in the first half, we look flat. And then in the second half, it's a completely different team. Like, it's hard not to be like optimistic seeing where this team could go. I'm really excited. And I can't wait to see where we go. We have guys like when we go 1 for 9 in the first half, in the second half, we go in the paint, we dominate. Like this team can go at the rim. They can go to the three. I'm really excited to see where we can go for this season. And wow, it's been a long time since me and my dad can get together and say, oh yeah, Nebraska football sucks, but at least we have basketball to look forward to. Well, basketball is suddenly a top 4 seed potentially. Like, me and my dad are sitting in the living room, like celebrating. Like, this is unreal for us.
Well said,
I'm just
man.
excited to see where we can go.
I'm right there with you.
Thank you.
Absolutely appreciate the call from our texter there. I believe that one was Froth, but yeah, I mean, I got to keep saying it. Enjoy the ride. This is incredible what these guys have been putting together so far. I don't know where it ends. I'm not an oracle or a future teller, but I'll tell you right now, it's pretty damn good. And a 13-0 start is awesome. We could nitpick some things along the way, but another really impressive second half dominance from the Huskers. Again, only allowing 17 points for the New Hampshire Wildcats. Meanwhile, the Huskers put up 45. Down Scott says, I liked what I saw from Oogie. Once he gets in the flow, he will be good for us. Yeah, I mean, there's a few players that we didn't even get to, but I do see my guy, Austin Orman, waiting, and he was there at the game. So let's go ahead and bring him in. Austin Orman, bring him into the post-game show. The Huskers are 13-0. What was it like? You got the sights and sounds down there at the Vault.
Yeah, it was kind of as expected, also kind of unexpected. It was, of all the basketball games I've watched, it was certainly one of them. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. For those of you who pay attention to such things, Nebraska did indeed cover. It did not look like that was going to be the case there in the first half, where Nebraska led by just 3. And Nebraska pretty much wins this one across the board. The only category that stands out that Nebraska trailed was in the 3-point shooting, where New Hampshire makes 8 first half threes, and Nebraska did not make 8 threes all game. One player for New Hampshire, their leading scorer, Jack Graham, made 3 3-pointers on his own. He was 3 of 8. Huskers not named Price Sanford combined for 2, and even Sanford just matched him at 3 for 8. But I bring that up, Harrison, because Fred Hoiberg was asked in his post-game presser, what's impressed him the most about this team? What do you think he's learned the most about his team? And he said, the big question for most people, even him to some degree, coming into the year was, could Nebraska win ugly? Could Nebraska win rock fights? We've seen them be able to do that, and mostly in these non-conference games, mostly in these bye games, especially, right? I mean, the 2 conference games Nebraska's had have both looked pretty good. That was a high-level basketball game between Nebraska and Illinois, and maybe Nebraska's most complete performance of the year against Wisconsin. But you think back to the stop and start against West Georgia, Florida International at times, Maryland Eastern Shore, certainly North Dakota, in Nebraska's most recent game before this one, and then only leading by 3 here tonight. Nebraska's had some fits. Nebraska's had some stops and starts against the lesser opponents on its schedule when you would look at all the power ratings and all the stat websites and whatnot. But Nebraska's found ways to win those games. It's true that Nebraska probably can't afford to shoot 5 for 23 very often in Big Ten play and expect to win. And Nebraska also probably can't expect to shoot 35 free throws in Big Ten play. Maybe here or there it'll happen as a one-off, but 25 free throws, Nebraska had only shot 3 times coming into this year. Against it was West Georgia and someone else, and then 28 against Oklahoma when Nebraska put up 105 points. This is a team that can get downhill, that can get to the free throw line, not exactly how it's built, but Nebraska has found ways to win games when the shots aren't falling. I think, too, this is where I would have Husker fans adjust their expectations a little bit for what we mean by a good shooting team. You think about a good shooting team, an elite shooting team, you think about the percentage. And I've said this for a couple weeks now, it bears repeating. Nebraska might not be a high percentage team, but Nebraska will probably continue to be a high volume team. 23 attempts will probably end up being close to a season low for Nebraska. But if Nebraska is, 34, 35, 36% on, 34, 35, 36 attempts per game, and they can hold opponents to, 33, 34, 35% on, mid-20s attempts per game, that's the math that Nebraska is trying to win. To take it to what that caller said and what you were saying, who knows where this ride ends? It ended in a win tonight for Nebraska by 31 points. But the important takeaway is that this team is now 13-0, the first undefeated non-conference slate since the 1920s. It's been 100 years since this happened. You thought 42 years between beating AP number 1s was a long time, but Nebraska knocked that off the list a couple seasons ago here in this very building. Nebraska's made history. Nebraska's continued to make history. The nation's longest winning streak reaches 17 games. It took everyone tonight. Everyone contributed. In the end, Nebraska ends up taking care of business.
Yeah, and once again, it's a great second half response. It's been weird. North Dakota, West Georgia Wolves, this game, you can throw out a few others where, you don't really see Nebraska panic or get too worried out there. And you're seeing this recalibration in the second half. And I think that's been the beauty of it, because tonight's 3-point shooting was horrendous. Now, for both teams, I think, they, at one point in time in the first half, in New Hampshire, they were 6 for 11 to finish the night.
I'll one up you. They were 8 of 14 at one point, and they ended the game 8 of 32. They missed 18 consecutive. They were well on their way to 2017 Rockets territory, missing 27 consecutive threes. And that was the only thing keeping New Hampshire really in that game. They were getting some pretty good looks. Nebraska had a couple miscommunications that for the most part got sorted out. But this is a New Hampshire team that did not come in shooting 8 for 14 percentage-wise from 3 on the year. They only averaged 7.9 made threes per game entering the night. You figured that they were going to cool off at some point, but you just never know, right? We've seen mid-majors and lower come into arenas like this against teams with bigger track records than Nebraska has and knock them off. You always worry first halves like that, okay, did you give the other team too much life? Did you give the underdog too much hope and too much confidence to let them hang around? Nebraska, to your point, responded in a huge way to start the second half, had an 11-0 run within the first handful of minutes, and it was really, business as usual from about the U16 of the second half on.
Yeah, and the thing I noticed, the most, obviously, shout out to Chris Rapp, did an extra hour with me, so we had the TV up there. But in the first half, there was a lot more threes. In the second half, I'd imagine there's a little bit of guys, let's look at the matchups out there. And you saw them go into the lane a lot more and not relying on that three-point shot as much. And then all of a sudden, the lead starts to balloon a little bit, and it felt like New Hampshire got in a little bit of a panic where they felt like they had to take a bunch of threes. On top of that is the defense that Nebraska is going to play. They will trap you on the baseline no matter what. If you can get Nebraska out of sorts on rotation and get an open three, we tip our cap. But we've talked about it before. It's not a wide open three. They do still a pretty good job contesting, despite doubling down there on the baseline. What'd you see in that second half that led to the Huskers to really dominate?
So you mentioned that discrepancy in 3-point attempts. Nebraska only takes 23 on the game. It was actually pretty even. 13 attempts from three in the first half and 10 in the second half. Here's the thing, though. When Nebraska established that lead, it didn't shoot a three until about 14 minutes left in the second half. Nebraska did make that effort, and that was Nebraska's game plan all along. Coach Hoiberg noted that part of New Hampshire's game plan is take away the three, right? Similar, general philosophy to Nebraska, go about it very different ways, given their personnel. So, yes, it was a lower number of attempts for Nebraska. Yes, they did make a more concerted effort to get downhill, really from about the 10-minute mark on in the first half. Bryce Sanford hit a couple. He took a couple early ones. I don't think were bad looks. It just didn't quite look right coming out of his hand. Didn't know if it was quite the time. But there were plenty of opportunities, Harrison, in the later stages of the first half. And really, Nebraska wasn't bad at the start of the game. It just looks like it. I mean, when you make your first one, it's Bearcade Boyutengel, of all people, opening the scoring with a left corner three. And then I had it written down here. I think Nebraska missed its next, 11 threes in the first half. Yeah, Nebraska went from the 1904 mark with Boyutengel's made three to the 334 mark in the first half between made 3-point baskets. And Nebraska took some good ones that just missed. Nebraska also passed up plenty of shots that I think if the ball was going in the net and you're feeling good, you take. Nebraska had opportunities. I think last year Bearcade shoots 2 or 3 more from three just because he was that open. But you could tell, even from where I was sitting without being in the huddle, it was a point that Nebraska made. Hey, you can pass up a good look to get a great look. You can pass up an open three for a mediocre shooter to get us downhill, to get us to the free throw line, where I would guess the 35 attempts for Nebraska is close to, if not, the high water mark for attempts in the entire Fred Hoiberg era.
Well said there. We also got to see some new faces. And you can help me out if I'm butchering his name. You're Zavicious? You're Zavicious. Yeah. Thank you. I don't want to butcher it too much, but new face out there. He made a couple of shots. What'd you see out of some of the guys, especially later in the game, who don't normally get minutes? I know Garcia got back in there as well, but also a new face tonight.
So, Ugnius Jarushevicius is the young man's name. Central Michigan transfer. Was a guy that Nebraska thought was going to get in the game against North Dakota. That one didn't exactly go to script, and so they held him out. Just precautionary, make sure you win the game, don't tweak anything. He entered in the first half and played 4 minutes. And I'm like, oh, okay, interesting that they just get his feet wet. Had a block on his first defensive possession, nothing else really to write home about. And then didn't see him again until there were about 6 minutes left in the game, and I think he played the rest of the way. And he played the rest of the way alongside Jared Garcia, right? Who's kind of the third member, probably now the fourth, potentially, depending on matchups. Those guys, Jarushevicius and Garcia, will probably be matchup-based to some degree. They're not the same player. They have wildly different skill sets. But I did like the idea of Jared Garcia in the Bearcade Boyutengel's role and Ugnius Jarushevicius in the Rink Mast role to a degree there at the end of the game. Well, and then it got better because Nebraska put in Leo Curtis, freshman, at the end of the game. So you're running, not just twin towers, but triplet towers at this point. And then Nebraska one-upped itself. Not only did Nebraska have small forward Jared Garcia, power forward Ugnius Jarushevicius, and center Leo Curtis. That's 6'9", 6'11", 7 foot, and 7'3" on the floor, the 7'2", at the 5 there in Leo Curtis. Nebraska went with shooting guard Justin Bolus at the end of the game. A 4 big lineup for Nebraska. I joked with some people, and I tweeted that was in practice for Michigan coming up here down the stretch. Michigan is known for playing their 3 bigs together, and we'll certainly talk more about that. But I think part of that, not that, Jarushevicius or Curtis or Bolus will get much run against Michigan State. Jarushevicius probably the most of that crew. But Michigan State will play 2 bigs. Cohen Carr, their wing, is more of an inside-out driver type, not as comfortable on the perimeter. So Nebraska is going to probably rely on some lineups on Friday with Jared Garcia probably at the 4 defensively, Barricade Weekendgel at the 3, probably on Coe and Carr, and then Rink Mast at the 5 defensively in some order. And those guys are all relatively switchable, but there will be certain matchups. Nebraska and Michigan State will both hunt there. So we didn't see much Mast, Weekendgel, Garcia that I think Nebraska could definitely break out against Michigan State coming up on Friday. But Oogie, good to see him get in the scoring column, hit a 3 for his first Husker points from pretty much the same spot. Boychengel hit his 3 for his triple-double the other night. Had an and one in transition. You see a little bit of the skill level that Nebraska likes out of the Central Michigan transfer. Missed a free throw, ended up getting an extra 2 points on a stick back later in that possession as well. So he looked good. He looked fluid. I was worried when he wasn't with the team right away out of halftime or went back to the locker room that, he's just going to get his 4-minute stint in the first half. He actually spoke after the game, said, yep, still sore, still hurting, not nearly as bad as it has been. So I'm good, just grateful to be able to play, get out there. And it was good to see him, I think, officially record in the second half. Yeah, it was 7 minutes in the second half, 4 in the first for 11 minutes. That sounds about right for a guy's really first action at a spot.
Well said. Yeah, I didn't even realize we had the towers cubed.
Yeah.
Who knows? And with teams like Michigan State, we haven't really gotten to major foul trouble yet. But especially that Michigan team, you mentioned the size and height and the aggressiveness that those guys play with. Who knows what kind of lineups down the road we may try to throw at them. But you were at the press conference, Austin Norman. Anything catch your ears?
Not anything totally crazy. I mentioned the stuff from Fred Hoiberg about Nebraska's ability to win games in different ways. I do think what stands out overall, Fred Hoiberg touched on or alluded to it, wasn't really asked about it, but you kind of sense in his answers it was there. Sam Hoiberg a little bit of the same way, is that a lot of these non-conference games for Nebraska, like we talked about, have all gone the same way. And you're out of those opportunities to start slow defensively, right? Sometimes it's been the offense that's out of rhythm early, but more often in games like this one, it's been the defensive activity that Fred Hoiberg hasn't liked. Sam Hoiberg said at halftime there wasn't much talk about adjusting offensively. Again, Nebraska put up 41 points in the first half. Could have been more had the shots fallen, could have been less had Nebraska not gotten downhill. It all bounces out in the end. But for a team like Nebraska that I still think is more reliant on the offensive end than the defensive end, the hand activity, the rotations, and the timing of them have to be there from the jump. And Nebraska starts a lineup that's usually pretty solid on defense, right? You think Sam Hoiberg setting the tone, Barricade Boychengel, the way that he grades out as a defender, DeMarcus Lawrence can get after it on ball a little bit as well. And even Rink Mast, his communication, that's going to be something to watch, right? You notice Nebraska didn't start very well defensively against Wisconsin before they got it figured out. The margins are slim. Nebraska usually figures it out in the end. The hope is that, if Nebraska starts slow defensively, they've hung around enough, right? I don't think New Hampshire ever led by more than 5 points in this one is what it was. I think I can get that pulled up here. They led by 5, 25-20. That was their biggest lead. But if Nebraska's hand activity isn't going to be there, if they're going to let teams bomb away from 3 and, get paint touches and spray outs the way that New Hampshire was early in this one, the shots will come and go. We've seen that from Nebraska all year. I don't think Nebraska was, bad effort-wise. I think they just kind of forgot they had another level, had to get back into it after the long break. I'll give them a little bit of a pass for it, but now there are no bye weeks. There are no off weeks in the Big Ten. So Nebraska's got to bring that activity level, got to start hitting its deflection mark before the U12, timeout in the first half, unlike it's done the last couple games.
And then I know you mentioned already with our leading scorer, well, not our leading scorer, the leading scorer for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, Price Sanford. But how about the leading rebounder? Sam Hoiberg comes out on top. I think that's maybe the second or third time this year that he's done it. He ends the night with 10 rebounds. And then once again, it's a lot of the stuff that doesn't show up on the box score. And Sam Hoiberg is not the only one that does this. And I think that's what makes this team so good and what allows these wrinkles in this offense to come alive at times, despite if they go in a 2, 3, 4-minute drought at times, is doing up the small things. I know for one point, Rink Mast was driving to the rim. Sam Hoiberg, size difference. Let me seal my guy off and wall him off. So Rink Mast has got a one-on-one, and it becomes an easy 2 from Rink Mast. Sam Hoiberg, once again, just incredible with the rebounding and the effort. If he was 6 inches taller, he'd probably be the leading rebounder every night. But what are you seeing from him? And not to disparage anyone, but the role players that maybe don't necessarily lead the league, or not the league, but this team in scoring or rebounding. Basically, the guys that aren't Sanford, Rink Mast, And, occasionally you can have some other guys step up. But those are the two main guys. But you're seeing guys like Sam Hoiberg and even Cale Jacobson at times have some really significant moments.
Yeah, so Sam Hoiberg was just a bucket away from what I think would have been his first career double-double. And we didn't get final confirmation on this, but based on the response we got from Nebraska Sports Information Director Seamus McKnight, I think that Sam Hoiberg was in the game late for two reasons. Number one, because he's that steady presence. He's going to set the tone. He handles the ball. He's a point guard. But also because he was a bucket away from a double-double. That's why Barricade was in the North Dakota game so long, I think, was to get that double-double or triple-double. Nebraska gave him a shot. He hit it. I think that's why Nebraska forced a pass or two to him that ended up leading to a turnover. Sam Hoiberg's played the best basketball of his career. Wilson Moore, friend of the program, friend of the station, wrote about it not long ago. His twin brother Charlie is on staff now in some capacity. Sam and Fred both credit that as helping Sam break out just in terms of the confidence, right? Sam is a good basketball player, right? You mentioned the height thing. That's always going to come up. The coach's son thing is always going to come up. What stood out to me with Sam is that, yes, he's in the game more, so some of those counting stats like rebounds tick up. He's playing the exact same way. But Sam's shooting mid-30s from three, perfect. He's got to do that to stay on the court. Sam Hoiberg has drastically reduced his turnover rate. He was turning it over like darn near 30% of the time last year.
Is he still leading the country in assist to turnover ratio? I don't know if you have that off the top of your head, but I know he was one up there. Even if he's not right now, to your point, drastic improvement in that area.
Yeah, and if you're a small guard, regardless of the conference you play in, you either have to be able to get downhill and score at will, change on a dime, and make some tough shots, or you have to do all the little things right. The little things were always top of the checklist for Sam. He's doing them more consistently now in his senior year, now that he's actually graduated from Nebraska as well. Sam Hoiberg that's averaging a career high in points, probably a career high in rebounds at this point as well. Has been Nebraska's leading rebounder or close to it a couple times. It is a key piece of this team. There's a reason that he's starting. He's not just a placeholder alongside Jamarcus Lawrence. He's starting because he's worked his way into being a legitimate threat in the Big Ten, and Nebraska needs that. He's not going to hit 2 or 3 threes a game like Sanford. He doesn't have the natural height of a Boyukton Gel to lead Nebraska in rebounds. He's the same Hoiberg Husker fans have come to know and love. And he's done some of those little things like shoot better and not turn the ball over that you need him to do to be able to keep him on the court. The same Hoiberg that's below 35% from three needs to play in spurts. Sam Hoiberg that turns the ball over once every 3 or 4 possessions needs to play in spurts. It's hard to have out there in crunch time, but a Sam Hoiberg that is hitting free throws for the most part, is hitting the open shots on kickouts that he gets, and is taking care of the basketball, wildly valuable piece.
Yeah, 100%. And to your point, I mean, just him keeping those numbers up is allowing that spacing to continue to happen for them on offense, which doesn't just open up the door for him, but obviously everybody else on that roster. Austin Norman, I can't help but notice tomorrow is the Las Vegas Bowl with Utah. Today is a Tuesday on a cold December 30th, and that place was packed to the third row at the vault tonight. How impressed were you by the crowd, and what was it like inside?
Yeah, no, it was good. Not an electric crowd by any means, but at the very least, there were butts in seats. I'm sure they'll list it as a sellout or pretty close to it. There were certainly some empty seats, but Sam said it best. He was asked about the fan support, and he said, yeah, I mean, we've noticed this place fills up even when we weren't playing our best basketball. But as the teams continue to improve, Sam thinks that, this team plays a style that fans enjoy offensively and defensively. It's an easy group to root for, Fred Hoiberg has said. And, we get it. Husker fans all stick together in all kinds of weather. Greatest fans in the country. Every fan base is going to say that. But this team has deserved this crowd. I was impressed pre-Christmas with at least the number of butts and seats for the North Dakota game. And yeah, I mean, you prefer energy level and noise to raw butts and seats, but sometimes it's just the attendance itself that shows you how well a team is playing. There's so many other things. You'd be at home in front of the fire reading a nice book and drinking hot chocolate. You could be watching a bowl game. You could be having a belated Christmas. You could be pre-gaming New Year's Eve. You could be just watching Nebraska football highlights or scouring the transfer portal rumors right now. But I think Nebraska fans have responded really well to this team, in large part because they were 12-0 entering tonight and 13-0 leaving tonight. Everyone's always going to come out more to support a winner. But even if you extrapolate this back over to 22-23, when Nebraska started to turn the corner into the tournament year in 23-24, even through some of the struggles last year, Husker fans still showed up. And then to have it all pay off for the team's sake in the school record start and nation's longest winning streak at 17 games, and for the fans who stuck by this program through some really lean years, some really tough to watch basketball. I think, number one, it's a treat for them to be able to come out and watch. And number two, something I think Husker fans are, plenty overdue for. And the fact that they get a chance to see it, that the gravy train hasn't slowed down for them, just makes it all that much better.
Couldn't say it any better myself. Yeah, I was just shocked because I think it's a 4-win, 4-8 New Hampshire team with the Wildcats. And again, I expect people to show up because this team's still undefeated, but really impressed by the turnout. Energy's understandable. Again, don't like disparaging people, but this excitement is going to be different than when Tom Izzo and his guys coming to town. It's going to be high energy before the ball's even tipped off. Before we get out of here, Austin Norman, anything you want to hit on that we may have missed?
I don't think I can stress how big Friday could be for Nebraska. Third hour of Old School today. Go back and listen. Shout out Harrison, producer extraordinaire, for podcasting it. We looked at the biggest regular season games of the Fred Hoiberg era. A loss doesn't derail anything Nebraska's done. I don't think this is a game Nebraska is at any risk of not competing or looking bad in. I don't think tonight's performance is anything more than shaking off some rust, getting back into the flow of things. I think it's a wildly fascinating matchup against Michigan State. I think it could rival the best crowd I've ever heard in person at any level. I think it needs to for Nebraska. Again, a loss, so be it. It happens. Michigan State's good. They're playing some good basketball right now. A win, and there are some really, really incredibly dangerous thoughts about to be thought across the state of Nebraska and potentially even nationally. It is maybe the best regular season opportunity Nebraska has had to move the needle this far, probably since the home win over number one Purdue back in 23-24. That game wasn't a fluke. Nebraska led that one by 11 at the half and ended up winning it by 16 points. I don't know how Friday goes for Nebraska at the end of the day. I can all but assure you it's going to be a wild ride. It's a game that this fan base has spent 7 years waiting for, to be in the top 25, to be making the climb, to be relevant in the Big Ten conference standings. They had their shot on the road against Illinois. They paid it off in a big way with a win. Now Husker fans get a chance to have a game like that, even bigger at home. I'm excited to see what Friday looks like.
You and me both, and everyone else that was listening in and everyone else who's watching that Nebraska basketball game. Should be a lot of fun. We'll definitely talk about it, as always, once that clock hits 0. But that is Austin Norman. Appreciate him hopping in. This has been the Husker Hoops postgame show. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll be back tomorrow.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth.